Kate Bowler, I am honored to be with you. And thank you for saying those things. When you were talking at the beginning, I was like, has Kate been talking to my therapist? Because this is generally our agenda.
I think one of the great men I know, Gary Haugen, founder of IJM, and when he was funny, when I met him, he had this very, very sad book called The Locust Effect, right? And it's about like how when terrible things happen, then spoiler, more terrible things happen to those people. And that's the secondary effect. And you have to like really watch for the secondary effect. He gave like the saddest, most honest account of the world. And then the second the interview was over, and I was like, he was laughing hysterically. Yes. He was jokes. And I was like, dude, how do you become this person? And he goes, oh, joy is the oxygen for doing hard things.
This is so true. Isn't it often the people that would have very good reason to not see joy in anything, who carry so much, who have seen more than they should? And this is not me. I'm saying my observations of people like Gary Haugen, people like, the civil rights leaders of past and present, and all of the people who have very good reason to be calloused about the world are also able to mine the deepest joy. It's connected. It's both. In fact, I've been thinking about it lately in terms of like the time that we're in right now. And that Camus quote about like basically living with joy is a resistance. And it's because like, if you don't have joy, then you don't have anything worth fighting for. So these people who love, who see the beauty, who see life, who see humanity, who see why all these people are worthy of protection and shelter, are the people who are fighting hardest for it.
Yes. It's such a deeply hopeful thing.
Yes.
To even let yourself be joyful, that there's more somehow. Because I think my response typically is in the great unknowing. It's just, my response is like control.
I don't know. Tell me a little bit about that, Kate. I'm unfamiliar with the compulsion to control.
I'll explain it to you. Because there is a particular kind of person that becomes a wonderful, do-gooding, globally minded lawyer. And that kind of person, hypothetically, is a problem solver. They're the organizer. They're the ones everyone turns to in a crisis. And so whenever I hear about your approach to the world, Amanda Doyle, I think so much about one of my very best friends. Her name is Catherine, and you guys are the same person. There's like not a problem you can't solve. There's not a detail that goes unnoticed. If I'm in the hospital, there will be a pillow. It might be warmed. Every future trip has an itinerary. So I wondered, as you've been like beginning to explore these kinds of questions as the very capable person trademarked, what part of that aspect of your personality do you feel like you're trying to unlearn right now?
A lot of it, frankly. I think it's a weird challenge for people who are like that, like I am, because it is useful.
Yes.
To those around you. It is helpful. You have only gotten praise for being able to figure things out and handle things. It is, it's a challenge to even see it as a challenge.
Yes, right.
I realized that fixing and helping was how I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And it became very sad and very confusing to me because how I was loving, exhausting myself loving.
Yes.
Doesn't feel like love to others. It feels like control. Because when you are used to walking into any situation and scanning a room or a scenario for the problems and the obstacles and the way things can be improved, then that is all you're seeing. And in fact, that is how I show up in the world for people that I love. And then it gets very sad.
Yes.
And reaches kind of a crescendo where I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to love you.
Yes.
And you're not feeling any of my love. And so it's like you're walking around carrying this huge bag and you're so burdened. And then people are looking at you like, you're so annoying when you walk in here with that big bag,
Yes.
right? But you think your bag is a bag full of love and it's the only way you know how to show it.
Yeah, it's my whole toolbox and I have all
Right.
this stuff and I'm taking it out. It's very emotional to hear you describe this because like I can feel how much the want I've wanted that and like and how not received as love that has been, and then also just how resentful that makes.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle because then you're doing everything you can to love. The person's not feeling the love. Then they're feeling unknown and unseen because you can't love them the way that they want to be loved and need to be loved. And you feel unknown and unappreciated because all you're doing is loving and nobody can feel it. And that's, in my parenting, in my marriage, in my workplace, like it's tricky. And that's one area of it. And I think it broke open for me with my son. And that breaking open with him has kind of helped me very slowly and very poorly. Like I'm stumbling through this, try to like have it apply in other ways.
Yeah. Can you tell me a bit more about that, Amanda? That feeling where you, like as a parent, felt the wall of your approach?
So my son has ADHD and he is a glory of many magical, mysterious, beautiful things and has a lot that's associated with that, some dysregulation and a lot of challenges. And I could only see for a long time the areas that were going to be blocked for him, the places where
I see
he needed help to be better, worrying about us not giving him what he needed, basically living in a posture of like, is he going to be okay? All the time, and trying to look and scan the world for whether or not that would be true. Will he be okay? Will he not be okay? And I was so worried about protecting him and helping him avoid the shame and the judgment of the world. But I was bringing, by constantly trying to help him, I was bringing that shame to him directly. And I got to this place where I was like, I can either focus on helping my kid and asking the world constantly and constantly monitoring for the rest of my life whether he is okay and is going to be okay. Or I can just decide that he is. And not like pretend.
Yes, I hear
but
you.
Really believe it.
Yeah.
What happened when I stopped looking at him and seeing his behaviors, I could actually see him. But I couldn't when I was looking at his behaviors or looking for challenges and so I almost missed it. Like I almost missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful because I can see him. I know him now. And he is ridiculous and so funny and so deeply feeling. And he's just a miracle. And like I missed it almost forever. And it made me think, oh gosh, what else am I missing because I'm fixing and not loving, because I'm helping but not knowing.
There's something so divine in what you're describing too. Like, I'm just picturing the way you looking at your son and like that feeling, the feeling when we are asking the world or sometimes asking God, like, am I okay? Or am I always just like a problem to be solved? And for you to feel your child's like deep wholeness and then be able to mirror that back to each other. There's something like, so this, it's just so spiritually like profound to be able to then like, there's a certain kind of magic to love that it completes us when love says like, you are already perfect.
I think loving our people, loving our children, loving whoever it is that you're like, just can't even freaking believe they're alive.
Yes.
That, like, I'm looking at my kid and I'm like, I could never think you are bad. Like, you are so, I mean, they do a lot of bad stuff.
Sure. Right.
But like, at your core, I'm like, you are a divine miracle.
Yes.
And nothing has ever compared to you.
I realized the other day when I'm like on my knees praying with my son, because we do this like, you're like praying about the horrors of the world, but mostly about bad dreams and like whether baseball will be okay. And I realized as I'm like on my knees in front of him, I was like, oh, like this is also like praise God, etc. But like, this is also just worship at the altar of love. I'm so grateful you are alive. And like, when I look at you, I know something about love I can't have known unless I believed in your like intense, perfect wholeness. And then I know something about myself because I know what it is to love you.
And I know something about myself because I know intellectually, even though I can't yet feel it, that the worthiness that you have of love, the perfection in you as a soul,
yes,
is also true of me.
With the second part impossible, the first part totally, and then maybe we'll get there, right? Will I feel that someday, comma Amanda, comma?
But that's what I mean, like that you like. That's the thing about the other people of the mirror. You have to engage in some serious dissonance, which I do, to look at one person and say, you're a miracle child of God, and like, you are little God fairy dust all over. But me, not so much. I'm just a pile of real problems.
Exactly.
Like, that doesn't,
you're totally
not
right.
True.
You're totally right.
And then you think about like, oh, wow. So perhaps there's a chance that I am okay.
Yes, that's right. I think that's right. I always live in like a strange relationship to my like ability to hunt down problems and fix it, because there's been certain moments of my life in which that has probably been the most important quality.
Yeah.
Period. And I think you feel the same way about your diagnosis. The like, holy crap, if I were not this very vigilant person, something very bad would have happened.
I think that the blessing of this type of personality, which is also one of the curses, is just limitless self-efficacy. My posture towards the world is like, I dare you to give me a problem I can't solve. And I wish that for people, because it makes you feel powerful in the world, and just the belief just the belief
Yes.
actually makes you powerful.
Yes.
Not because you can, but because you know there are not things that are inaccessible.
Yes.
When you try to learn them and figure them out.
Totally.
In particularly the health space. And I should start to say, like, whatever happened here is like the opposite of my normal thing. I think part of the personality of the fixer is that we do it outside of ourselves in order to avoid the actual problems with us, or the actual self-compassion, or the actual attention to yourself. So like, this is, it is just flag in the sand of like, it's a lot easier and less vulnerable to focus your floodlight out and help everybody else around and be like, nothing to see here.
Totally. I remember one person one time listened to my podcast and who knows me and goes like, oh, okay, I get it, Kate. Like, so grace for everyone else but you? And I was like, shut your face.
Yeah. There is something about it that is really worthy of grief that I'm just starting to kind of touch around the edges of like, why is my light always out and my light is not in? Like, at what point did I learn that I don't deserve the gifts of myself, but everyone else does? That's
really good. I mean, I don't know. That's deeply true, and it's deeply sad. And I think a lot of people who are always trying would never imagine someone else would try like that for them.
Yeah, and it's not like, I don't think of it in like this self-care, literally like the way I imagine I want to like greet people, or the energy that I'm bringing to them. It's never occurred to me to fill myself with that energy. It's never occurred to me that it might be nice to feel that. Why? That's so weird.
You're right.
So all of that to say, this is weird that I'm like, I should go to the doctor. So, I was 44. And my great-grandmother died in her early 40s of lady part cancer. This is before anyone talked about anything. So they didn't know, is it ovarian cancer? Is it uterine cancer? Is it... No one talks about these things. My great-grandmother, also around the same age, of unmentionable lady part cancer. And so I said, like, I just want to get a genetic test. I just want to see what's happening here and if there's anything I can do preventatively. And I went and got genetic testing done, which was pretty simple. Like, for folks who want to do it and are lucky enough to have insurance, like, there are tests to do for that. And of course, just be ready for the first 3 times that people say that's not necessary and you don't need to worry about it and all of these things. Like, that is not a stop sign. That is, oh, I expected to see you here. I'm just continuing right along on my path, like that. Yeah. And I got that testing done. There was one marker that was concerning. So I went to a cancer center. Anyway, long story short, it turns out that marker that was concerning was not actually concerning. But once I was in the care of someone, they were like, you have actually a higher risk of breast cancer, which was very surprising to me. But we got a baseline MRI, and there was some issues with it, but they were like, it's probably just hormonal. It's probably nothing. And I was like, I think I'd like to just be sure about that. And so let's go get another MRI, and got another one. And it was confirmed that not only was that something that was it not hormonal, but it was growing,
Wow.
and it was a problem.
Wow.
And so I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I then had a double mastectomy.
Lovey.
And that was...
Oh, that must have been so hard.
Yeah, it was wild, because in that moment that I was first told, I was sitting on the side of the road, and I was on spring break with my family and had like terrible reception. And they told me that I had cancer, and that it was early enough that it was very likely going to be okay. And the first thing I thought was, I saved my own life.
Yes. It's wonderful. Like that bit of iron in you that was like, I'm going to find the end of this thread. I just think that's a really rare and wonderful thing.
I think it has never happened to me before that I'm aware of, that, and in part it was because I had just lost my dear friend Wendy, who died of cancer. And the model that we have of like, you find out that you have cancer when your body is riddled, and you are... I mean, you know this more than anyone. Like, why is that the model? I mean, the other huge important part about this is that in this whole process, I was told again and again that I was fine. I had gotten regular mammograms the entire time, going every year. And I still had to push for the MRIs, even though I was totally clear, because I wasn't told that I have extremely dense breasts, and that extremely dense breasts do not show cancer.
I see.
And people don't know this, and it's ridiculous. I went for the 2 days before my double mastectomy. For some reason, they make you get an MRI like 2 days before the thing. And the guy came back and was like, your mammogram is 100% clear. I would have sent you out of here and told you I'll see you next year.
Isn't it like a high percentage? It was like a surprisingly high percentage of people with dense breast tissue.
It's like 50% or something, but it is the percentage that's actually extremely dense within that characterization of density it's like 10% of people. But that's a significant amount of people who are going to mammograms thinking they're fine.
Yes.
So if you have extremely dense breasts, you have a right to find out. They have to tell you your breast density. If they say you have dense breasts, ask, what level are you? If you're in the extremely dense, then demand an MRI.
That's such good advice. It's so practical just to have another step. I imagine it was a pretty significant role reversal at that moment for you, the very capable person trademarked, to then have other people, maybe just even to allow other people into your process. Like Glennon and Abby flew out to be with you for a very scary appointment. I will admit I should not be followed on this, because the more scared I am, often I'll go to those alone. Because I just think, I'll just get through the appointment and then I can manage my own feelings. I don't have to manage my feelings about other people. But then the number of times when I'm alone in a moment where like I should never have been alone, and I did not make it very easy. I'm wowed that you allowed people in.
I am too, and I'm so thankful. And Kate, it's so interesting. The more capable you are, the more people are like, I don't know. Yeah. She's just going to want to do it herself. She's just going to, and for all intents and purposes, you could, because
Sure.
that I dare the world to give Kate something she can't handle. But this thing was the first one that I'm aware of that I couldn't have done. And I don't mean couldn't have done like with the depths of my like reserves of courage or resilience. I mean, literally, I would have missed it. I would have missed half the things that I should have known. I would have, like, that is such a soul crushing process, and it is so deeply overwhelming. And you go to one doctor and they tell you what you need unequivocally and exactly what's going to happen. And you're so exhausted by the whole process, and you just want to believe that what they're saying is true and go ahead with the program. And there was one moment, Glenn and Abby flew out and we had met with one doctor. And that night, Glenn and Abby came up and they were like, I think we should get a second opinion. And that idea, I felt like I was like, that's not possible. Like, I can't, how do we even do that? I'm so overwhelmed already. I don't even, like, I didn't have the will or capacity, or it was like you know, you trek to the top of a mountain and someone was like, should we try that next mountain? And there's no chance that I would have done that on my own.
And even all the things that, like, if somebody else is there, then they can do those things. They can hear the parts of the story that actually your brain dies partway through and can't hear all the details. They can ideally record it in some way or take notes, and then be able to use that to, like, scaffold the next visit. So you don't have to start from scratch with the same, like, man, because just telling the story is so wearying. And then waiting, like, just all the emotional push-pull of just those appointments.
That's exactly right.
Is such a key person, but I never think to bring a witness. I started recently seeing an attachment psychologist who I wasn't really sure what kind of, like, you know, every season of life you're like, what's the growth area? And I think I've just been trying to grow exactly around this area, is how can I let other people do any of this work with me when all I want to do when I'm scared is to just get through it and do it by myself. And this lovely woman works in a hospital setting with people who are doing, like, long-term diabetes care. And there's often a lot of, like, risk and fear and just all kinds of, like, obstacles. And what's so wonderful about talking to her is her advice over and over again is, like, the more scared you are, you got to lean into your attachments. You got to just, like, find the people who are going to, like, draw closer and closer, even if they're just good for that one situation. Like, the more you want to be alone, the more you should probably actually just, like, text a friend.
Do you know why you don't go for help? Because I've been trying to figure that out for me. And I think that I am so deeply, deeply uncomfortable with being witnessed when I don't have it all figured out. Like, Kate, I'm not talking about, like, emotional struggle, I'm talking about, like, if my husband is watching me try to, like, fit the things in the freezer and it's not working.
Stop watching me. Stop looking at me.
Stop.
I totally do the same thing. Stop watching me. Do you really? Don't look at me do this.
I get enraged.
Me too.
I'm, like,
so angry.
I feel so
Stop watching
angry.
me. Totally. Why? That's weird.
There is something connected to the don't watch me try to close this box.
Totally.
and the I will do it myself.
Exactly.
I will get through cancer on my own.
I totally agree. That's right. This entirely tracks from everything from like parenting to home renovation to cancer. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't look at me.
I flip it back and I'm like,
You're
why don't you
judging
just
me.
be doing something else?
Yes.
I'm doing this. I'm taking care of this and you're just watching me take care of this. Why don't you make yourself useful and take care of something else?
Something.
But I don't know if that's actually honest.
Oh, no.
I think it might be, I cannot tolerate being witnessed in any kind of struggle.
Yep. Yep. That's good. I know that that's right. Because I would much rather say you're judging me than say I feel deeply embarrassed that what I'm doing I will not do perfectly at all.
I think we can catch ourselves, or at least I can, in this kind of like humble brag thing where it's like, well, there's some people that need help and that's cute. And I really believed that for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't anymore. I think there is something. I mean, I'm a highly effective person, but I am not immune from the way of humanity, which is how we get deeper into ourselves and more of what we're supposed to be.
Yeah. That's
is
interdependent.
Through fleshing and threshing that out with other people.
I can always hear it that I'm like arguing constantly for dependence, fragility, like the courage it takes just to be a human, which is to say dependent and fragile. But like, it is not something I like in myself. And I think it's too like the more scared we are by health, by other people's okayness, by like activated by love. So all the stuff you said at the beginning about being like not wanting to be this particular version, but because of love, that makes so much sense to me. Cause it's like, it's all the like lion's roar feeling.
Yes. Yes. And the same like ferocity that we bring to things. That's our love, right? You're like, oh, I will go at this problem. I will, don't you worry. I'll take care of this.
Exactly. That's, I guess I'm always very moved by moments where people, they let other people in. And that story of your friend Christine, where I thought was so touching.
So my dear friend Christine, I was there in the hospital room when her baby was born. She got me through, my divorce. She was amazing. And then we lost touch. And then she, a couple years ago, just wrote to me and said, Chris, her husband, needed massive, heart surgery, like really scary, dramatic, dangerous heart surgery. And she has 2 kids, and she just wrote and said, this is what's happening and this is the help I need. Like very concrete, very like, it on these 3 days is when I need help. You can either give rides to the kids or bring dinner to the people. Here's what. And of course I was like, oh my goodness, of course. And I will be there. And that's the thing. Right. And so then we were able to reconnect and kind of, I was able to follow what was happening with her husband, and thank God he was okay. And they got through it. And then a year later, we got this invitation in the mail to a dinner, and, it was called Eat Your Heart Out, which love a good pun. That's the first thing, right? There's probably 20 of us around the table. And she got up at the dinner and said, this is not in honor of Chris's health, although we're grateful for that. This is just that we wanted you all to know that you are the reason we were able to get through this, and that you showing up for us made that possible. And that if you ever are in a situation like this, people will show up for you too, if you ask, and we will be among those people who show up for you. And it was such a beautiful moment. It felt like, what there's moments, I know that you know this, these moments where you're like, oh, the fog has lifted. I see the thing that's invisible all the other times. And none of that happens if Christine doesn't send me that text and say, this is what I need from you.
Yes.
And it became so obvious that asking for what you need is the most generous thing you can do. Like, just, it's inviting people in to a place where they wouldn't be. Like,
yes.
And they wouldn't get to see,
That's right.
They wouldn't get to witness that web. They wouldn't get to get close to you. Like, it felt, the richness of that moment. I felt like I was like, I want more of that in my life. I want this in my life. And I just thought, how many tables have I missed being at? How many tables of connection have I missed hosting? Because I haven't been brave enough to show up in the messy middle of things. And that's the table of connection, right? Like, is letting people in before you have it figured out. And I just want the richness of that. It's like not that awesome to be praised for having figured some shit out and be alone at your table.
Yeah. 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 So in conclusion, don't be us all the time. Be the not us that can let people love us.
Yeah, I think it's like, can I see myself the way I see my son now? Which is like, I don't have to ask the world if I'm okay. I just have to believe I am and then show up as I am.
Yes, because people want to be there.
Because people want to be there.
They do want to be there. We get notes all the time and about just that one thing. And that's the part where, like, I want to put that back together in all of us. And the note always goes, I don't actually have anybody. Actually, I don't have somebody I would call. And I think underneath that is, there are people I do know, but I'm worried that if I contacted them, there is something about me that they would never say yes to. And so what I hear in this is such a powerful call to just say, like, hand on heart, that we can give ourselves that deep yes because other people want to say yes to us too.
And they were giving them a gift by doing that. Like, that's not a burden. You're inviting them to a table where they can see what is made visible only when you're at that table. People want that. People are lonely. People want to be connected and useful and needed. You saying, I need you, says that that other person is worthy and needed.
Yes. 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 Amanda, I don't know how to say this, but I like you so much.
I like you so much. Can you be my friend? Can you come to the table?
Be right there. I like you so much. Thank you for, like, the kindness and the courage it takes just to let me into the world that you've been in, and also just to see how just some of the things that we think hold us up, like, keep us apart. And this has been, like, a really powerful conversation for me.